context, right? Sunday night, Mike Lawler had a town hall in Dutchess County. We turned out about 60 people to that town hall, outside people from all across New York 17. He had such few supporters in that room that all of our folks were able to ask questions. Mike was on the stage calling people liars, calling people clowns, doing all the things that he does that he learned straight from his daddy Trump, right? Shame, it ain't right. And the next day, the literal next day, it gets announced that Donald Trump is coming to Rockland County. So I want to frame it this way because I want y'all to understand. This is what people power looks like. This is what it looks like when we show up and organize. This is what it looks like when people stand together, when it's not about ego, when it is about the mission, right? And the mission is making sure that we have a country that we can leave to our children, that we have a democracy, that we have a social safety net, that we have all the things that we need that people are relying on to survive, right? And that is what they are here to stand against and campaign on. And so the reason that I want to set the frame that way is when we're chanting, when we're bringing this energy, I want y'all to have that in mind. We are the people. Can I hear y'all say that? We are the people. We are the people. All right. And so that being said, I'm going to start us off with one of my favorite chants. I'm sure y'all know it, and if you don't, you'll catch on real quick. Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
That's it. This is what community looks like, right? This is what democracy looks like. No matter what, we are going to make our voices heard. We are going to stand stronger. We're going to stand together because that is what we do.
Yeah.
Now, it's also worth naming, like I said, right? Our elected leaders, our representatives are supposed to stand up for us. If you're going to stand up for us, you're going to have a strong backbone, right? And at the heart of that backbone is a strong spine, right? And so I want y'all to stay with me with this chant, right? Mike Lawler, grow a spine. You're working on the people's time.
Mike Lawler, grow a spine. You're working on the people's time.
Mike Lawler, grow a spine.
Mike Lawler, grow a spine.
You're working on the people's time.
You're working on the people's time.
Mike Lawler, grow a spine.
Mike Lawler, grow a spine.
You're working on the people's time.
You're working on the people's time.
Now, it's not just Mike, right? Mike is one part of this system. But Donald Trump is the executive. We're 10 years into this, y'all. As long as I've been able to vote, this man been running for office. He lost a couple times. They don't want to admit it. They got $1.7 billion for all the people who don't want to admit it still. But that being said, we got to be clear about where we stand. And so this next chant, I want y'all to stand with me. We're going to say no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA, no Trump,
No Trump.
no KKK,
No KKK.
no fascist USA,
No fascist USA.
no Trump,
No Trump.
no KKK,
No KKK.
no fascist USA.
No fascist USA.
That is why we are here. So I want y'all to keep this energy. We're going to be chanting all day. We're going to be doing this. It's going to be a long one, right? We're here for the long fight because it doesn't just stop today. We're going to keep going. But I'm going to jump into this a little bit.
Can I do one chant?
Oh, please, Alex, come on.
This is a good one, I think. I think you'll appreciate it. All right.
Not one dime.
Not one dime.
Not $1.
Not $1.
No more cuts
No more cuts
from Mike Lawler.
from Mike Lawler.
Not one dime.
Not one dime.
Not $1.
Not $1.
No more cuts
No more cuts
from Mike Lawler.
from Mike Lawler.
Amen. Amen. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I could not have said it any better than myself. Now, before we jump into this, too, I want everybody to say a nice, hi, Zach.
Hi, Zach.
So if you look on the rock over there, that's Mike Lawler's little tracker. He be following us around everywhere. He got a lot of good pictures and videos of us. So make sure y'all smile. Make sure y'all show them what community looks like. Because when they try to paint us as the radical left, when they try to paint us as crazy people, when they try to paint us as this, I want them to remember that we are the people. And we are here peacefully. We are here united. And we are here standing strong. So I want them to remember that. So take that one with you, Zach. Now, let's get into it. Let's get into this, right? So, who got today's date? Today's May 22nd, right? Yeah. I want to set the stage, right? Because it's important to acknowledge where we're at in this moment in history. In 1857, on this day, something very monumental happened. On 1857, May 22nd, 1857, was the day that Charles Sumner walked into the United States Senate. That's right. Charles Sumner had been rabidly opposed to the expansion of slavery, rabidly opposed to the Fugitive Slave Act, rabidly opposed to everything that would wind up becoming the foundation to the Confederacy. A whole war was fought in this country, but one of the opening salvos was Charles Sumner walking into the United States Senate after giving a speech and being beaten. His blood is still stained in the floor of the United States Senate. The same floor that them folks on January 6th ran up on, was pooping, doing all of that on, where Charles Sumner shed blood on behalf of black and brown lives because he understood the need to stand up and speak. Yes, that's right. That moment went on to inspire a man named John Brown. John Brown was a freedom fighter. He was also a white man willing to lay his life on the line to stand for black and brown folks, to fight and die for black and brown folks. 6 years after Charles Sumner was beaten, the Department of War, as it was called then, and unfortunately they're trying to call it that now, but whatever. 6 years later, the Department of War created the Colored Troops Bureau. What that bureau was for was to integrate newly freed, formerly enslaved Africans into the Union Army so that we could take part in this fight for this system. The reason I'm laying that foundation, right, is because we just saw 2 weeks ago the Supreme Court gut the Voting Rights Act. A product of the folks like Charles Sumner, John Brown, Frederick Douglass, all of the amazing abolitionists and activists who fought to end enslavement in this country, produced 3 amendments. The 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. The 14th Amendment, which said if you were born on American soil that you are an American citizen. And the 15th Amendment that said every citizen, unfortunately at that point, in fairness, it was only men. They wasn't doing it right. They had to fix that up. But that said, even if you were formerly enslaved, you had that same right to vote. That is directly tied to that foundation I'm laying. And so right now, when we are hearing them say, make America great again, and we see them gutting the Voting Rights Act, we see them taking attacks on everything that impacts marginalized communities, that impacts black and brown folks, that impacts working class communities, it is rooted in that same hatred of that day. And so we are here to stand against that hatred. Now, I could really wax poetic about it. I don't want to take too much time. I know we're already behind schedule. So we're going to jump into this moment. But I want folks to understand we are here today to center the most marginalized, the most impacted, the most harmed people in this community and all over this country. Because the president of the United States decided to come here and pretend it's MAGA country. But it ain't that. No. This is New York. This is the Hudson Valley. This is New York 17. This is Rockland County. This is a place where people make families, make lives, where we continue to build and grow and expand and love each other in community. Sometimes it ain't pretty, but we are always together. So show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA.
We're going to jump into it. And I'm going to bring up somebody who is turning out to be one of my favorite people that I met out here. We're going to kick it over to Everett Newton, also known as Preach, to speak about some of the direct impacts he's seeing here as a Rockland County resident. So Preach, I'm going to pass this mic over to you, my brother.
Being that I am first, I must tell you about a prayer that I have for today. I'm guided by Cornell West, a professor, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who now resides with the ancestors, and is also his roommate there in the balcony of time, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., someone who I admire and beloved. Some of us today are called to speak to this moment, and those words need to be said. Some of us are called to prepare the struggles of tomorrow and for those struggles that must be met. However, Dr. Cornell West made this statement about faith. He said, faith is to step out on nothing and land on something. I want you to pray with me that we can look into a future and imagine a day where people, men, women, boys, and girls, those who are transgendered and those who are part of the LGBT community, those who are born in this country and those who are not born in this country. This is what I want to say to them. I want them to understand that when the day comes, when we will no longer have this administration, when we have awakened from the fever dream of civic failure, the collapse of humanship, and the erosion of faith where one another treats everyone poorly. When that day comes and the sun rises on all of our lives, and no longer have to look up to a king, a so-called king, and remember the words of Desmond Tutu. We as a community must develop a commission called Truth and Reconciliation and understand how this happened, what happens today, and to make sure it never happens again. For remember, it was in South Africa that they too experienced some of the things we experience. And let me be clear, Truth and Reconciliation need to have a commission where we can use it not as an instrument of revenge, but a purpose where we can end persecution. As Desmond Tutu taught us, that the purpose of truth is reconciliation. And reconciliation, you must have truth. Because people who must continue to live here must learn how to understand that we must coexist. And we cannot build a future on denial, hatred, and vengeance. The reservoir of goodwill in this country must be able to be built so we can cleanse blood, hatred, and retribution. And there is one universal sovereign that's powerful enough to handle all of this jive stuff that's going on, and that is love. Sometimes justice must speak plainly, but the goal must always be the creation of what Dr. King called the beloved community, a society grounded in truth, justice, mercy, and human dignity. So I ask of you to join with me and support women of color who have been degraded by this current administration. We must stand and support people whose faith may not be like yours. It might be Hindu. It might be Buddhism. It might be Islam, because those individuals have been treated poorly by this current administration. And amen goes right there. So I'm asking you to be like my mother was, who always believed that everybody is somebody and God is their creator. To believe in what Sylvia Gentile once said, that all of us deserve a place in this world, and to remind you that love is not always kissy-kissy. Let me say that again, that love is not always kissy-kissy. But we must learn to be able, with our love, to expose injustice and let honesty confront that which is broken and commit our lives to one another. So today, I commit my life not only to the higher power, but I commit my life to you. I commit my life to those who are part of the LGBTQ community, those who are transgender, because transgender folk deserve to be recognized and loved and embraced and to be reminded that God loves you too. But not only does God love them, we must love them. We must love those who are marginalized, who are being pooted on and stepped on by this administration, not because they don't belong here, but because they don't have what you have. But if we stick together, all of us can have the same thing as each other. And what do we need? We need benevolence. We need care, and we need to be respected. So I say to you that God's word says that faith is the substance of the things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. I might not see it right now. I might have shades on, but guess what? God will pull back the shades of time and show us what can be had, because Dr. King said this must be a beloved community. And with that I say amen, amen, and amen.
Come on. Y'all see why they call him Preach, right? Y'all see why they call him Preach, right? That is the power of this movement, right? This is a movement built on love. And I want that to be so clear for everybody here, right? We don't always agree on everything. It ain't always pretty. We ain't always together. But it is always in love. It is always in the spirit of community. And that is why we need to do this work. That is why it was so important for everyone here to show up today. And so if you don't take nothing else with you, take exactly what Preach just laid out for us, right? It is this beloved community. It is the need for us to love each other, for us to make sure that we stand together. And so I'm honored with that to bring up our next speaker, another amazing leader, another person who continues day after day to show up in every way to fight for the most marginalized communities. And when we fight, we win. I'm going to say that again. When we fight, we win. And so showing up is half the battle. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to the executive director for the New York State Conference of the NAACP, Mr. Chris Alexander.
Oh, shit!
Yeah. All right. Preach, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for laying that foundation and for reminding us all why we are here together. There's a lot of different people behind me. There's a lot of different voices, a lot of different signs, a lot of different messages, a lot of different identities, a lot of different belief systems. But there's one thing that joins us together today, and that is that sense of community. And I want to say thank you to both of you for leading in this moment, for being willing to say that we are stronger together, that we are better together than these folks who are trying to separate us, than the folks who are trying to tell us that some of us belong and some of us do not. My name is Chris Alexander. I'm honored to serve as the executive director of the New York State Conference of the NAACP. 52 branches. 52 branches across this state. Countless state conferences across the country. And a movement of people who have fought this fight before, who have done this work before, who are undeterred in this moment when they're trying to set us back because we've done this before. In this moment where there's so much contention and there's so much division, there's so much uncertainty and there's so much despair, there's so much news. I am tired of the news. It fortifies me to know that we're not standing alone, that we're standing in coalition in a moment when people are trying to tell us that we don't matter. Let me be very clear. To the Republicans, to the this ain't a nonpartisan issue. I'm here for one reason. And there's one thing that I'm going to be talking about across this state every day as long as I serve in this seat. And that is a rolling back of the Voting Rights Act is a rolling back of our democracy. Right. This is about nothing else. A couple years ago, I remember when Congressman Lawler was talking and when he won his seat, and he was talking about the gerrymandering effort, and he was talking about how these seats are fair, it's competitive, we're going to compete. And then to now stand in coalition with somebody who, when the Supreme Court overturned, let me be clear about what happened here. When the Supreme Court said, and throughout, in the Calais decision, throughout Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, this president said that this was a good thing. He said it was a good thing. This race to the bottom was a good thing. That it was right and just, and it was going to be good for Republicans. I'm telling you one thing right now. I know a lot of people who've been waiting for a moment like this to wake up. A lot of people who've been looking for a reason to get re-engaged. Now, it's here now. It's here right now. Be very clear about what's happening. This is not a partisan fight. This is a commitment to the erasure of black political power. It is not a byproduct. It is the mechanism. It is the mechanism. Go across the map and go look in Tennessee. Go look in Memphis. The one seat in that state represented by a black member. Cracked up. So that community has no voice in Congress anymore. That is what we're fighting today. That is what we're fighting. And I'm going to say, again, to the congressman, my mom told me, my grandma told me, we're going to judge you by the company you keep.
That's right.
We're going to judge you by the company you keep. And so if you are unwilling in this moment to stand up for all the black residents that you have in this community, all the black neighbors and friends that you have in the Hudson Valley and Rockland County who've stood up and come out time and time again to fight for themselves, to fight for a voice for generations. If you can't stand up for them, we can't stand with you. We can't stand with you if you can't stand with us.
Say that, brother. Say that.
I want to say one more thing. And this is just, again, this is coming from the heart. I can't read speeches and talk at the same time. It's a thing I've just never been able to do. But I'm gonna say one more thing, and it's crucial for everybody to understand. As we move forward, we in May right now. November is a few months away. It's a few months away. And the NAACP is mobilizing across this state. We're mobilizing in black communities. We're mobilizing with our allies in white communities. We're mobilizing everywhere to make sure that anybody in this state that cares about democracy shows up to vote. And we will remember who stood with us. We will remember who stood for black political power, for black voting rights, who we will remember who stood to protect democracy. We hope you do too. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want y'all to understand, right? A lot of times, politics can feel detached from people. It can feel like it's inaccessible, like we don't have the power. And folks like Mike Lawler want us to feel that way. They want us to feel like, oh, these people, they just in the park, they just chanting, they don't do nothing. They want us to feel like, oh, they just knocking doors, they ain't doing nothing. They just making phone calls, they ain't doing nothing. They want you to believe that you do not have the power to create change in this system. They are 100% wrong. This fight to pull back voting rights is a perfect example of that. I want y'all to understand, in the big picture of this, the Voting Rights Act was gutted. That was done through the Supreme Court, where Trump put 3 people on that court, right? What's still being decided by the court right now is a case called Trump v. Barbara. That case is to determine whether or not birthright citizenship will still apply, or if the president has the power to end birthright citizenship through executive order. While that is happening in the courts and still being decided, because they are trying to take away that 14th Amendment, that birthright citizenship, Mike Lawler is one of the original co-sponsors on a bill. Mike Lawler is an original co-sponsor on a bill.
Shame on Lawler.
That bill.
Shame on Lawler. 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 Shame on Lawler.
Shame on that man. That man is an original co-sponsor on a bill called the SAVE Act. What the SAVE Act would do is require a proof of citizenship to vote. Now, I would never, ever, in the history of ever, source the Heritage Foundation as a good, credible unit, right?
No.
They're the ones that wrote Project 2025, right? They're the ones that authored all this, right? Did y'all know the Heritage Foundation, as a group that studies elections all over the country, has been doing so since the 90s? Do you know that since, I believe it's 1996, maybe a little hazy, since the 1990s, they've monitored over 1,000 elections. They found 77 cases of non-citizens attempting to vote in federal elections. Thousands of elections, thousands of votes cast, millions of votes cast, 77 instances. Non-issue, and in every one of those instances, because it is already illegal for non-citizens to vote, those situations were dealt with accordingly through the law enforcement, through all of those things, right? But they want to pass this bill, and that bill would require you to show original proof of citizenship. So a passport, 1 in 10 Americans do not have a passport. If you have a passport, it has to match your original birth certificate. If you are a woman who's been married, or a man, or anybody who's been married, or for whatever reason have changed your name, you would then have to get a new copy of your birth certificate. You would have to get proof that you've changed your name. You would have to go through all of this in order to just be able to register to vote. If you have been registered and voted in every election since you were 18 years old, you would be deregistered and have to do it all over again. Disenfranchisement, voter suppression. And so the reason I'm saying this, in the whole frame of things, you killed the Voting Rights Act, you want to kill birthright citizenship, and then you want to say you have to be a citizen to vote. You are trying to kill democracy. And so I'm holding this picture, so y'all got the face of the man who is supporting this from jump. Shame on that man. In addition to that vote, and I'm going to wrap this up because we do want to hear from our last speakers, but it is important to name, in addition to that vote, Mike Lawler was the deciding vote. The deciding vote for that big bag of BS. I won't curse because there's some kids around, and I won't say how I normally call it. For that big bag of BS bill that cut $900 billion from Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. That cut SNAP benefits. That cut students' ability to receive financial aid to go to college. Mike Lawler was the deciding vote of that. We will remember, as Chris said, we will remember who stood with us and who stood against us. And so it is not enough to just blame Donald Trump. We need to put it right where it belongs. And that is at all the people who enable this to happen. And that starts with Mike Lawler. Now, I say that, and I'm very happy for this next moment because it speaks to the power of this movement. It speaks to the power of people uniting and coming together. And so I am going to introduce now, coming over from the Westchester side of things, and if you know, you know, Westchester and Rockland coming together for this. From the Westchester side of things, I'm going to introduce the chair of the Westchester County Democrats, as well as the co-chair for the Hispanic Democrats of Westchester. Suzanne Berger from the Westchester Democrats, and Robin Bacall from the Hispanic Democrats of Westchester to come up with some special guests.
Thank you. I want to step forward for a moment. I'm very pleased, Robin and I are very pleased to be here today in a show of unity. We have arrayed behind us the 5 brave individuals running for the Democratic nomination to compete with Mike Lawler in November.
Yes.
We have John Capello, we have Kate Conley, we have Beth Davidson, we have Effie Phillips Daly, and we have Michael Sachs.
Yes.
So we are all here today together to send one message. That is, it's important to be together in November. I have a few additional remarks, but we're also here today because President Trump chose today to visit New York 17. We know Trump is awful. Every morning we wake up to some new unprecedented action. We dread looking at the newspaper or our news feed. Something more messed up than the day before. A new $1.8 billion slush fund. Let's fire the Senate parliamentarian because we don't like her, mind you, a ruling on whether the ballroom billions can become part of the reconciliation bill. Let's fire Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board. The Supreme Court will be ruling on that very soon. Let's indict the great New York Attorney General Letitia James again. This is the kind of stuff we have to put up with and why we have to stop enabling Trump. How do we stop enabling Trump? We elect a Democratic Congress in November, and that starts right here in New York 17. We need to stop Trump running roughshod over our liberties and over our resources. We need to elect a Democratic Congress, both houses. But the road to New York, to the House of Representatives turning Democratic starts right here in New York 17. Everybody here can play a direct role. Let's remember what we're going through. The price of gas in New York. This is per the AAA. 1 year ago, for regular, who can remember back that far? $3.13. 1 month ago, $4.10. And now, $4.60. That's all in a year. That's what we've gotten from President Trump and Mike Lawler. See, I knew I was going to do that. Okay, anyway.
Biden's fault, he says. Biden.
The cost of the Iran war. It's either $1 billion, somewhere between $1 billion and $2 billion per day. I mean, that's like only a rounding error between $1 billion and $2 billion. We know the first 6 days cost $11.3 billion. Think of what that money could have done. And yet, Mike Lawler voted no in March on the War Powers Resolution. We cannot let Congress abdicate its constitutional duty to act. 6.45 million New Yorkers are currently enrolled in the state's Medicare program. We cannot let their care be impacted. And so every day we have little indignities. You walk into a classroom now and you have to look over your shoulder as to what you teach. You'd think teaching fifth graders about the 14th Amendment to the Constitution would be pretty standard. After all, it says what it says. But that's the birthright citizenship clause that Isaiah referred to earlier. And Donald J. Trump is claiming it doesn't mean what it clearly says and has said for over 100 years. And the Supreme Court will rule any day now. But let's remember, Section 1 says, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. That's the plain language of the 14th Amendment. I thought we believed in the original interpretation of these things. But anyway. And so what is Mike Lawler's position on birthright citizenship? He says the courts will decide. Okay. That's what he says about a lot of things like reproductive rights and that sort of thing. It's a way to stop taking position. Our Democratic candidates know what the position is. So we have
Abortion is health care.
We have to take steps to protect our elections. We have to combat eligibility challenges, and there's some great legislation pending now in Albany to try to address that. We have to make sure we're prepared if federal agents show up at polling places, and we will be prepared. in New York 17. But most importantly, we have to remember Mike Lawler is an enabler. And we have to stop Mike Lawler's enabling. What does enabling behavior do? It's deeply rooted in codependency and fear. I read that definition this morning and I thought, how apt. Fear. And that's why Trump is coming here today, to make sure Mike Lawler knows. It's an unhealthy dynamic. And enabling tends to shield people from consequences. But let's not be fooled again. Let's vote by June 23rd for the Democrat you think can best help take back the House and represent all the constituents in the 4 counties of CD 17. Then let's congratulate the winner and work to beat Mike Lawler in November. Thank you for inviting me here today. Thank you to all the candidates for running. And I want to turn the microphone over to Robin Bacall, co-chair of the Hispanic Democrats of Westchester and former chair of the Westchester County Democratic Committee.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. And thank you to the 5 candidates. I really respect the fact that you're all here, putting aside differences, campaigns, uniting for this one most important purpose, which is democracy. Thank you. Yes. I'm here with my co-chair, Jimena Francella, on behalf of the Hispanic Democrats of Westchester. Cost, corruption, and chaos. That is who they are. Affordability, fairness, justice. That's who we are. We are here on behalf of Americans, native-born and those who purposely made this their home. We are here for immigrants who toil in our kitchens, our fields, our hospitals. They touch every aspect of our daily lives. They are the parents, children, spouses of American citizens, including our servicemen and women. They are what makes America unique. We are here because we all have one thing in common. We believe in the United States of America and the promise that it holds for all its inhabitants. We are fed up, ashamed, and feel betrayed by the cruelty, the shamelessness, and the impunity with which this administration, with the help of spineless congressmen like Lawler, terrorize our nation and ransack our national coffers for their personal, illegal, and grossly corrupt enrichment. Their shamelessness has no bounds, and we will defeat them in November. Yes. We, Democrats, competing to bring you the strongest voice in CD 17, stand united, one voice against this tyranny. We will bring back normalcy, fairness, and justice by taxing the richest, passing comprehensive immigration reform, and securing health care for all. Yes. We will not be silenced. We will keep fighting. We are one. This is a revolution, not with weapons, but with votes. Yes. I believe in our country. I believe in the decency of the American voter. I know that collectively we will defeat this scourge, one vote at a time. Your responsibility, vote. Your further responsibility, help us get out the vote. Our collective PTSD will pass. Right now, let's unite as one and bring democracy back. Now in Spanish. Buenos días, mi nombre es Robin Vical y estoy aquí con mi copresidente Jimena Francella. Y estamos aquí en nombre de los demócratas hispanos de Westchester. Costo, corrupción y caos. Eso es lo que ellos son. Asequibilidad, equidad, justicia. Eso es lo que nosotros somos. Estamos aquí en nombre de los estadounidenses, los que nacieron aquí y aquellos que vinieron e hicieron este país su hogar. Estamos aquí para los inmigrantes que se esfuerzan en nuestras cocinas, nuestros campos, nuestros hospitales. Inmigrantes, todos los aspectos de nuestra vida diaria. Son los padres, hijos, cónyuges de ciudadanos estadounidenses incluyendo los hombres y mujeres en las Fuerzas Armadas. Ellos son los que hacen Estados Unidos sea único. Estamos aquí porque todos tenemos una cosa en común. Creemos en los Estados Unidos de América y en la promesa que tiene para todos sus habitantes. Estamos hartos, avergonzados y nos sentimos traicionados por la crueldad, la desvergüenza y la impunidad con la que esta administración, con la ayuda de congresistas sin espino como Lawler, terrorizan a nuestra nación y su saqueo de nuestras arcas nacionales por su enriquecimiento personal, ilegal y groseramente corrupto. Su desvergüenza no tiene límites y los derrotaremos este noviembre. Nosotros, demócratas, compitiendo para traerles la voz más fuerte en Distrito Congresional 17, nos unimos una voz contra esta tiranía. Traeremos de vuelta la normalidad, la equidad y la justicia, obligando a que los más ricos paguen impuestos, aprobando una reforma integral de las leyes de inmigración y garantizar la atención médica para todos. No nos silenciarán. Seguiremos luchando. Somos uno. Esta es una revolución, no con armas, sino con el voto. Nosotros creemos en nuestro país. Creemos en la decencia del votante estadounidense. Sé que colectivamente derrotaremos este flagelo, un voto a la vez. Tu responsabilidad, votar. Tu más grande responsabilidad, ayúdanos a sacar el voto. Esta etapa pasará. Ahora mismo, unámonos como un solo y traigamos de vuelta la democracia. Gracias.
Thank y'all so much. All right, let's get a round of applause for that, y'all. All right. So that's going to conclude the portion of the rally that is happening here today, but I want to be extremely clear. We did not come here today to stand in Wedler Park. We did not come here today to not be heard. We did not come here today to just take pretty pictures in front of the cameras. We came here today because we want the world to know, we want the country to know, we want the president to know, and we want Mike Lawler to know that a people united will never be defeated. I need that again. I said a people united will never be defeated.
Will never be defeated. People united will never be defeated.
A people united will never be defeated. And so we are here united today. And so what we are going to do from this space, y'all going to listen for some safety instructions and all of that. Folks are parking here today. We are going to get ready to march. Y'all ready to march?
Yes.
Y'all ready to march?
Yes.
All right. So because we're going to march, because we want to make sure everyone gets from here to there safely, right? Say that with me. Safely.
Peacefully.
Because we are here to move peacefully. I'm gonna correct that. We are here non-violently. We are not here. We are here in the spirit of non-violence. But I want to be expressly clear. If there is no justice, there will be no peace. If there is no justice, there will be no peace. And there is no justice when we are taking away voting rights, when we are taking food out of children's mouths, when we are taking roofs off of people's heads. That is not justice, and that will not be met with peace. It will be met with the power of the people. And so we are going to march together. We are going to stand together. We got folks here. Some folks, if you're a marshal, please put your hand up real quick. We got one marshal, got another marshal who's over there. We got another marshal that's over here. We got at least 3 marshals. We got more on the way coming. You are going to listen to your marshals. Now I want y'all to do something really quick, right? Can everybody throw an X over their head? Okay. If at any moment you feel unsafe, you feel unwell, you feel like you need to take a break, any of that, I want you to throw that X over your head. That will alert us, that will alert the marshals, that will alert everybody here that we got to make sure community is okay, right? So throw that X again. If you see anybody put the X up, put the X up. We all need to see it so we are all on the same page. We are going to march from here up Smalley Road to College Road, right to where we were promised our space to demonstrate, because it is our constitutional right to demonstrate. We have the right to free speech. We have the right to free expression. We have the right to assemble. We are not asking permission for our constitutional rights. We are exercising those rights. So I am naming that here because we're going to get ready to march. Before we head out, I also want to make sure, notice everybody, there are not a lot of bathrooms along the way. It is an important one to note. There's not a lot of bathrooms along the way. There is a public bathroom in this direction. Where is our Marshall Allen? Marshall Allen is going to point in the direction. Say hi, Allen. Hey, Allen, can you point them towards that way? By the playground over there is the bathroom. If you need to go, please go first. We are going to wait here. We are going to go as a unit together. We are going to chant. We are going to make noise. We are going to show the power of the people that came here today, and we are going to let them know, and we will not be deterred by it. The other thing I want to name, we are not here to engage with red hat wearers. We are not here to go back and forth with folks. If they like the guy who's in the Epstein files, if they like the guy who, wants to kill the Constitution, if they like the guy who got $1.7 billion for the January 6ers, that's on them.
There are more of us than there are of them.
There's more of us than there are of them. And so I do not want folks engaging here. Again, if you feel unsafe, if you feel in danger, if you feel unwell, throw that X up and we will make sure that we take care of it. But we are not here to engage and to fight with these other folks, all right? So with that being said, I'm going to let folks, we're going to get the music going. We're going to get ready to march again. Head to the bathroom if you need. And we're going to get ready to go in a few minutes. Thank y'all for coming out today.
Yeah. So we're going to be joining with the march as we walk over to the auditorium where we had space to have this program, but then the police shut it down. We'll be meeting some protesters over there who are rallied over there. I want to thank everybody on the live stream for joining us. I'm Alex Lawson, the Executive Director of Social Security Works. I'm in town today to talk about what's going on. And what's going on is that politicians in Washington, D.C., like Mike Lawler, voted to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid. They voted to cut hundreds of billions more from the Affordable Care Act, the largest destruction and theft of health care in the history of this country. And what does that mean? Right here in this district, there are 2 hospitals that will close. This is our 3rd time in this district drawing attention to the fact that 2 hospitals will close here. What does that mean? People will die. The most vulnerable among us will die and be harmed. And even if your hospital doesn't close, where do you think all the people from those hospitals are going to go? They're going to go to the hospitals that are still open. And that puts pressure on those hospitals to close the unprofitable parts of their hospitals. You know what that is? Emergency rooms, trauma, level 1 trauma centers, maternity wards. They're closing around the state, around the country. That's what Mike Lawler voted for. Mike Lawler's cuts kill. And remember why. Why did they cut $1 trillion from Medicaid? Why did they cut food stamps and rip food off of the tables of the hungry? Why are they harming the least of us to give trillions of dollars in tax handouts to the richest people in the history of the world, to the billionaires that we see in the Epstein files, so that these folks can buy another golden yacht to sail to Epstein's Island or whatever they do with it? Think of how evil that is, to steal, to harm, to kill, or allow to die the least of us, to give handouts to the worst of us. But we're gathered here today because we know that an attack on any of us is an attack on all of us. If you don't fight to get the boot off of your neighbor's throat, you can't say anything when you inevitably find it on your own. That's history. That's how autocracy works. An attack on any of us is an attack on all of us. But that also means that all of us standing together, that's what we're doing. Because we know it's an attack on all of us. And when we stand together, when all of us raise our voices together, one voice can be ignored, but all of our voices together, standing shoulder to shoulder, can never be ignored. And in fact, we will win. Because there's something that I know: when we fight, we win. And what I'm looking around across this country, this is just one stop in our tour nationwide, is that the people are fighting. They're fed up with Mike Lawler. They're fed up with all of the Republicans. Every single Republican in Congress voted to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid, hundreds of billions more from the Affordable Care Act. They voted to cut food stamps. All of it to give handouts to the billionaires who are running this country. And they are going to do everything they can to subvert democracy because they know how unpopular they are. Donald Trump is in town today because he knows that Mike Lawler is going to lose. He's in town today to try to intimidate, to try to make people fearful of raising their voices. But I haven't met a fearful person yet. I've just met person after person who is standing up, standing shoulder to shoulder and being brave, showing the politicians in Washington, D.C. how to be brave. We never wait for the politicians. They're not the leaders. There is no cavalry coming. We are the cavalry. And that's what also gives me hope, because I know, talking to people, that the country that we can build, the world that we can build together, working for working people and not just for the Epstein class of billionaires, is a beautiful one that we will be proud of. The best education in the world. Of course, we can afford the best education in the world for everybody in this country. We're the richest country in the history of the world. Of course, we can afford health care for everyone in this country. Of course, we can afford a dignified retirement for everyone in this country. The only thing standing in our way is less than 1,000 billionaires who have corrupted the entire system so that it works for them and not the hundreds of millions of people working every day to make this country what it is. And what it can be in the future is so much more than Mike Lawler can think of in his head, or Donald Trump in his twisted dreams of building. Just think about the fact 2 hospitals are closing here. People will die. And what Mike Lawler and Donald Trump are doing is they're trying to build a ballroom, a gaudy ballroom in Washington, D.C. That's what they care about. It's time for us to raise our voices together and demand change. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be coming back later today and tomorrow. We're going to keep this tour going and showing the American people around the country that we're fed up and we're fighting back. Thank you so much.